Hi, and thanks for logging on to the daily DVAR HALACHA. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Thursday, the 19th day of November, third day of Kislev. Okay, I'm going to have some fun here with today's halacha, mashing together a Tzitzis halacha and a potential Chanukah halacha. Here we go. You know that we have a concept in Judaism that once something is used for a mitzvah, we would like to continue its use for the mitzvah. Like I know that we learned here weeks and weeks ago a halacha about how when you're done with your lulav, it was a mitzvah item and you don't want to throw it in the trash and have it go to a unpleasant ending. So what you do is you save it if you can, you put it away. That's what I've done with mine. And you put it aside and you let it dry out, and then it can end its life as a mitzvah when it goes into helping to burn the chametz on Erev Pesach. Really, that's what the halacha says. So let's say you have an old pair of tzitzis strings. Let's say they got torn off, and you don't want to throw them in the garbage. They were once part of a mitzvah. So it leads to the interesting question of, how about if I use them for wicks, for Shabbos or Yom Tov for Chanukah? So let's do that right now. Let's go to the Shulchan Aruch. And here we go. In the Shulchan Aruch, first of all, here, we'll start you from the Gemara. The Gemara in Bama Madlikin, that's the second parak of Shabbos, which discusses Shabbos laws. It also actually veers off on a tangent into Chanukah laws. So here, the opening Mishnah talks about all the things that don't draw the light too well, and you don't want to use those kinds of things on Shabbos, because if they're flickering, you could inadvertently, especially in those days when candles lit their homes, you could inadvertently just feel like touching it to help it, burn better, and that would be terrible on Shabbos. You're not allowed to do that, so therefore you're not allowed to use any wicks that don't burn well on Shabbos. So if I take you to the Shulchan Aruch now, it says, Ein osin psila l'ner shel Shabbos. Don't ever make a wick for Shabbos, whether it's on the table or anything that lights up the house. Midavar shehaor eino nechaz bo ela nisrach saviva v'hashalheves kofetzes. Don't have anything where the oil doesn't smoothly go up the wick and it jumps around. Kagon samer, like wool. Okay, well, tzitzis strings are made out of wool. So it would be a very bad idea to use your tzitzis strings to be for Shabbos wicks. Okay, so that's out the window. That's not a good option. But for Chanukah or on Yom Tov, when you're allowed to adjust the flame, so here the Shulchan Aruch says, Kol hashemanim v'hapsilos ksherin l'ner Chanukah. All oils and all wicks are kosher for Chanukah. V'afal pi shein hashemanim nimshachim achar hapsila. Even though the oil doesn't go up the wick too well. Vein haor nisla yafa ba'osam apsilos. Even though a light doesn't, stay too well on those kinds of things, still it's allowed for Chanukah. So theoretically, you could use your tzitzis strings for your Chanukah if you wanted to, because technically you're allowed. But that's not a great idea either, because the Ramah says right here, Umiu shemen zayis mitzvah min hamufchar. Olive oil is, of course, the best, and as he goes on, they all talk about how cotton would be a really, really good wick, and you should use those kinds of things. So I guess what I'm saying in short is it would be a fun idea to use your tzitzis strings for wicks, but it would not be so good for Shabbos because that's not allowed, and it wouldn't be so practical for Chanukah either, because we want to use cotton and olive oil where possible, or anything that burns as well as cotton, wicks, and olive oil. Could use wax. Some people are using paraffin with their special wicks. That burns beautifully. But, traditionally we like to use olive oil and cotton. So, no, it wouldn't be a fantastic idea to use your tzitzis strings for Shabbos or Yom Tov or Chanukah, because there's problems involved. So, you can always wrap them up, double wrap them, make them all nice and separate, and then they are allowed to be put away. Not all shameless places want to accept tzitzis strings, so yeah. So, but don't use them for your wicks. I got to sign out. Thanks for logging on.